As you saw in the title, CBC baits Trump press secretary to bring back the 51st state rhetoric. I'm sure if you've been listening to the news, you would have seen that the Trump is back to talking about Canada in the context of the 51st state. But you might be wondering, where does CBC come into this? I'll show you a video very quickly soon, and you'll see why I'm linking CBC into this equation. Why would the CBC get involved in this? Well, let me show you something. Let me show you something real quick, okay? So the CBC shared this video today, and it was titled, this got me interested because it was titled, Trump hasn't changed his stance on 51st state, says the White House. This was on Power and Politics on the CBC. So naturally, when you see that, we're going through an election right now, and it's been quiet from the White House. So in my mind, I was like, okay, maybe we can finally start to talk about issues that actually like the more domestic issues that are more internal within Canada. If we're strong within Canada, we can deal with Trump, right? Now, watch what the CBC goes and does here, and tell me if this comes across as strange to you in the same way that it did to me.
Because we're going to talk about a moment during the White House briefings today that we think is probably going to bring Trump's annexation threats back to the top of Canadians' minds. Yesterday, the CBC's Katie Simpson, you know her, she said on the show that she was seeking more clarity from the U.S. administration on potential changes to its auto tariffs. And today, she put her question right to the White House press secretary, plus an additional question about Trump's rhetoric on Canada. And as she does almost every day these days, Katie Simpson joins us now from Washington with some answers. All right, Katie, you were able to ask the press secretary a question. I want to show this. That's Katie Simpson right there. Just so we can zoom in on this. That's Katie right there in the White House briefing room asking the question. You were able to ask the press secretary two today. What did you learn from all of this?
Yeah, I can't see the photo that you put up there, but those press briefing rooms are pretty packed. And so it's pretty competitive to try to get a question. And so, because everyone, just imagine it, it's a room full of reporters that are, reporting back to, dozens and dozens of journalists, news agencies all around the world. And today I happened to get a couple of questions in. The first question I wanted to ask about was tariffs, because of course, the Canadian economy relies so heavily on trade with the United States. And so I asked about that first. And then sort of a question that has sort of been nagging at Canadians. Some Canadians think, why would I ask a question about annexation when Donald Trump hasn't talked about it? But that's exactly what I wanted to know, was why hasn't he talked about it? Has something changed? Anyway, have a listen. Tariffs first, Canada second. Annexation second. Have a listen.
Yesterday in the Oval Office, President Trump suggested that there could be some help for automakers. I'm wondering what that looks like. Is it tariff relief on the 25% tariffs that are in place right now, or the new tariffs that are coming up in May on auto parts? And a second on Canada, if I may. President Trump's tone when it comes to Canada-U.S. relations, Canadians have noticed it's shifted a bit in the past few weeks. Ever since the election campaign started, he stopped talking about Canada becoming the 51st state, at least publicly. I'm wondering if that's on purpose and why.
I would reject the president's position on Canada has shifted. Perhaps he just hasn't been asked about Canada by questions from this group in the Oval Office, but they see him almost every day. But the president still maintains his position on Canada. The United States has been subsidizing Canada's national defense, and he believes that Canadians would benefit greatly from becoming the 51st state of the United States of America. As for autos and auto parts, I don't have anything to read out for you there, but I think the point the president was making is flexibility, and he has flexibility when it comes to negotiations and talks. But ultimately, his goal in his fair trade deals that he is pursuing with many countries around the world is to put the American worker first. And we had automakers and auto workers here at the White House on Liberation Day who believe in this president and his negotiating ability to put them first and to bring those jobs back to the United States of America. And the president's been very clear about that in his conversations with the automakers as well.
So Trump had said in the Oval Office on Monday that he was looking at getting some help to.
Okay, let's stop there for now, because and let me put down this video so you can. I want you guys to see the outrage on my face right now. Why the fuck would the CBC go and poke the bear? And you're exactly right, Braveheart. You said, why do you want to know that? Why poke the bear? Like, Braveheart says, these reporters are shameful. What was the point? So she said, oh, this is a question that was nagging the minds of Canadians. No! You guys in the chat, let me know, was this a question you wanted to know the answer to? I know I didn't. I know I was more interested in talking about our problems. How are we going to develop our resources? How are we going to diversify our trade? That's what I wanted to know. I'll give you guys a crass example here. I'll give you a crass example. Say you have a friend, right? He walks into your house, he sees your wife, and he's like, ooh, the things I could do with that girl, you know? Now you got two options here. You can get up and punch that motherfucker in the face, as you should. I'm not encouraging violence online. Anyways, you can get up and punch that motherfucker in the face, or if the person happens to be maybe someone you don't feel confident in taking on, you certainly don't encourage that. You certainly don't go. And I'm hoping here that maybe you and your wife are having the best of relationship. You guys are having all the wild sex that you can, and you're having a good time in general. But if you're in the right position, oh no, I shouldn't have said position after I mentioned. Oh my god, this is how this is what happens when I go live. I just start saying shit. But you certainly don't go back and, like, if the guy decides that he, now has a half a brain and decides to knock it off in terms of disrespecting you, you certainly don't go back and go, yo, why did you stop? Why did you, like, who thought that was a good idea? Like, that's what I wanted to know. Like, we're trying to get through an election where Trump is possibly going to be the deciding factor in probably who wins. And the CBC decides to go back and ask him a question when he's been quiet really about Canada for all of 4 weeks. Why? Now, I have a conspiracy theory here. But I'll read your comments first. BB, and you guys that are just joining, you can get in the comments and let me know. What do you think? What's your theory? Why did the CBC decide that, okay, Trump hasn't been talking about Canada for a while as the 51st state? Let's go and ask his press secretary about why he's not, maybe he's changed his mind, why isn't he calling us the 51st state anymore? I want to hear your theories here, because it makes no sense that they wanted an answer to that during the election. BB says, stop blaming the CBC for the problems of the CPC. So he's trying to say that Trump wouldn't be a problem if the Conservative Party had a solution to the Trump problem. Well, see, here's the thing, right? I'm not going to say that the liberals they've obviously used this to their advantage. And you don't hate the player, you hate the game, right? They have spotted an opportunity with the Trump question that it looks like the Conservatives are not able to answer right now, and they're basically exploiting it. But I said I was going to tell you guys my conspiracy theory. But before I do that, says that's hilarious. It's like they are asking Trump to ridicule Canada more. I smell something brewing. They can't be that dumb. So here's my conspiracy theory, having watched this. So if you've been watching the polls like I have, if you've been watching the polls, you'll have noticed recently in the last week or two that the lead that the liberals seem to have in the polls has been shrinking. Like even in nanos, the poll that a lot of conservatives seem to hate so much, the liberals don't have as big a lead as they did 3 weeks ago. Right now, nanos is showing that lead is down to 4 points or so. Right. The projections on 338 Canada are showing that the liberals are not leading by as much. And that's because, and this is where the conspiracy in my story is coming from, right? That's because we've stopped talking about Trump. And we know in the discussion where it's about who is best placed to handle Trump, Mark Carney seems to come out top in that argument, because we believe, or a lot of people believe, in his ability to negotiate with Trump. Now, when we remove Trump from the equation and we talk about the failure that the liberals have been in the last 9 years, and we talk about affordability, and we talk about inflation, and well, I guess inflation is down now, but we talk about affordability, we talk about housing, we talk about, drugs and addictions and those kinds of things, the conservatives tend to come out top in that argument, right? So my theory is that we see here that the liberals are losing ground, and surprise, surprise, they find a way to move the narrative back to the particular topic where they win. So my theory is that somewhere in the Liberal Party, someone has leaked this to the CBC, and I'll tell you why. Right? Obviously, I just told you they win this argument, right? But also the timing of this, 4 days to the election day, is ridiculously suspicious. I don't know. You guys tell me. What do you think? Braveheart says, I think they just want Trump to be back in the Canadian mind because they feel that he has died down. Yes, they do want, it would seem like they want Trump to be in the discussion again because it favors the Liberals. That's my opinion of that. Okay. R says, is Mark Carney really the best person to handle Trump? Because what this shows is that he just gaslighted us. Okay. Carmen Doucette says, I don't think that theory is correct, as Radio Canada was the one that reported that Trump did do 51st state rhetoric on their call last month. Well, Radio Canada is the CBC, last I checked, right? I'm not sure what you're getting at there. So R says the CBC reporter asked the question, not Radio Canada. Well, there's another separate part of this. There's another separate part of this conspiracy theory. And this one was talking about how Trump apparently did mention the 51st state during his call with Mark Carney last month. And as you know, Mark Carney never mentioned that when he reported back to Canada. In fact, Mark Carney and Trump each said, oh, it was a great call. We're going to talk about this after.